Welcome to JN Aquarium. I'm Jessie and I'm going to show you how I make my homemade fish food. Stay tuned. So the fish food that we're going to make, I use primarily from my plecos. I also feed it to a lot of my African cichlids and other fish. What I put in my fish food is a lot of greens. So what you're looking at here is about 2 pounds of peas, 3 heaping tablespoons of spirulina powder right here, and some duckweed that I've left dry overnight so it's not sopping wet. And that's it for the veggies that we're going to put in. And then we have about 1 pound of shrimp and a bassa fillet. And that's our majority of our protein, although there's lots of proteins in here too. But this seems to be an awesome selection for these guys, and they do really well on it. So that's why I make my own fish food. We will bind it together with a product called agar. It's a vegetarian gelatin. But first, our next step here is to take the meat, fish meat, shrimp, and cut it all up so we can use the Ninja. So there we have it, all the shrimp and the bassa fillet are all cut up and ready to go in the blender. So what I'll do next is I'll put a little bit of that in the blender, and I'll put a bit of that, bit of that, bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. You get the hint. And we'll blend it up until it's a nice paste, and then we'll go from there. Now we blend. When you are done, you should have a big, thick, goopy mess. Basically, kind of gross. It's yeah, just the consistency of a mud pie you would have been proud of when you were a little shit. But anyways, this is what we're gonna do, and now we're gonna let this sit for about a half an hour because I want any air bubbles out of it that may have gotten into it due to blending, because I want mine to sink. So if you don't want it to sink, keep air bubbles in it. If you want it to sink, no air bubbles. This has been a trial and error for me for a long time, and I finally got her down so that I can get it to sink. So the product I'm going to use to thicken the mixture and make it gelatin is called agar powder. It takes very little to thicken up. We're going to double it up. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons for 1 cup of water. It calls for a half a teaspoon for half a cup of water. So I double it up just because there's a lot here and I want it to be fairly jelly-like, so it lasts the bottom feeders a little while picking at it. And after I mix the agar in, I'm going to put it in these trays here, flatten it out, and I'm actually just going to take them outside and put them on the deck for a half an hour, as it's about as cold as our fridge still. That's it. So I've added the agar powder to the water. You're supposed to let this simmer for 5 minutes. Now that I've thickened it a little more than what they've recommended, I probably won't let it simmer quite that long, but I'll let it boil for a little bit anyways, and then I'll add it to the mixture. So the agar is simmering, it's almost ready. About another minute, and then we're going to add it to the mixture and mix it in right away and get it into our sheets right away, flatten it out and let it refrigerate. So we have our agar, pour it in here. This has to be done fairly quickly before it cools right down, and then mixed into the mixture the best we can, because this will want to harden on us, but that's what we want. Agar is a great option for this due to the fact that it is derived from algae. So it's another water-based food product that is much more digestible to fish than terrestrial-based food products. Hence why I try to put as much water-based products in here as I can. So I'd say we're just about mixed up there. And then we're gonna go into the molds. It's a mess, this stuff. Here we go. Let's try and flatten it all out. Best I can, so it's nice and flat. I can divide it into even portions. So I flatten it out. I flatten it into Ziploc bags after it's been refrigerated, and then I freeze them, and then I can take them out as I need them. And this way I can produce some food that lasts me a little while. I can generally get about a month out of this food, but I also feed a lot of other foods. This is not the only food I feed. And I don't think you should ever just feed one food, due to the fact I don't know if I'm missing something in this nutritionally. I believe it's balanced. It seems to have all the right stuff in it, and in great amounts. The spirulina powder is probably the most potent, beneficial ingredient in this food, but I might be missing something that they get in the wild. So I like to feed them other foods as well, hoping that that makes up for it. So we just smooth it out, and we will let it become gelatin. Okay. So after testing it, it was a little bit soft still after adding the agar. So I went ahead and added more straight up gelatin to the mix to get it to the consistency I want. And the consistency I want is that when you touch it, it doesn't stick to your finger and it stays together. That's just a bit of leftovers that I scraped out of the bowl after, and we're gonna go down and feed the fish in a minute and show you how much they like this stuff. But out of that batch, that's what I ended up with. And yeah, the fish love it, and I'll prove that to you in a second. So we're gonna see how these baby green dragon ancestors like it. Sinks nicely, goes down, and I'll do a quick time lapse of it. Now let's see how the plecos in the grow out tank like it. Let's time lapse it. It took less than 2 minutes for the baby green dragons to get on it. These guys might even be a little quicker than that. Even though it's getting a water change right now, we will see how the African cichlid tank likes it. We won't need time lapse. Just figuring it out right now. They figured it out. So these guys, they're making a bit of a mess with it. The stuff I did give them was the stuff that is from before I put the extra gelatin in it. So it's not holding together quite as well. But there's this big guy here who'll pick up any of the scraps they miss, and it would be good for him. But yeah, they're just destroying it. Great for the trophies, good for the haps. It's got everything they need. Give them good color. So there you have it. Cooking with Jessie. And you've found a new food for your fish, and it does excellent things. So if you want to try a new fish food that's got a very balanced nutrition to it, and it's going to save you some money feeding your plecos as well, give it a try. Play with it a little. Does not be exactly like mine. I just know mine works for me. Anyways, from me to you, happy fish keeping, and we'll see you next time.